The topic for discussion today is acute kidney injury in COVID-19. Next slide. Yeah, let me start with a case scenario. This unfortunate 49-year-old gentleman who was admitted with acute onset of fever, cough, and breathlessness. On investigation, he was found to have COVID with significant lung involvement, that is COVID pneumonia. And he also was found to have renal failure with a creatinine of 3.5 milligram per deciliter. And what surprised us was massive elevation of liver enzymes with normal serum bilirubin. That prompted us to think in terms of rhabdomyolysis. So we went ahead doing creatine kinase, which was 44,000, and ultrasound revealed normal sized kidneys. Next slide. So the diagnosis is COVID with pneumonia, 50% lung involvement, acute kidney injury. In this situation, the dominant cause for AKI was rhabdomyolysis. Next slide. What about AKI in COVID? There is uncertainty on incidence of AKI, exact burden, we don't know. It is multifactorial. But one thing is certain, that it definitely contributes for increased morbidity and mortality. And the challenges of COVID-induced AKI are plenty. Next slide. Yeah, this is a graphic representation of the negative impact of kidney damage on the outcome. It is not just renal failure. Even with preserved GFR, even proteinuria, hematuria with graded severity of the same, and renal failure. Each one of the evidence of kidney damage has a negative impact on the overall outcome, including mortality. That is what this slide represents. Next slide. As I've already said, there has been varying incidence of AKI in published literature. The reason is very obvious. Initially, in the first wave of the pandemic, there was not much of evidence for AKI. It all depends on which center is reporting, what is the nature of the disease they are dealing with, and the definition of AKI. For instance, the recent literature quotes an incidence of even up to 50% among COVID-19 patients who are admitted in intensive care unit. Next slide. The mechanism of acute kidney injury, it's multifactorial, which can be broadly classified as systemic effects, cytokine storm, organ crosstalk, and finally, whether the direct per se can inflict injury upon the renal tubular epithelial cells and podocytes. To elaborate on the pathomechanism, systemic effects include hypovolemia, hypotension, hypoxemia, and the COVID-19, there is endothelial dysfunction. Even endotheliitis has been demonstrated in the lung capillaries in postmortem examination. And there is tremendous oxidative stress. And there is a huge inflammatory burden on the system. And notably, there is significant activation of complement. And also, very important pathophysiology is activation of coagulation. And this coagulation involves not only the microvasculature, even the macrovessels. Next slide. And in our patient, it was rhabdomyolysis. Yeah, this slide depicts the cytokine storm. Actually, in COVID-19, the extent of organ damage and the severity of organ damage and the outcome, there are many determinants, but a very important determinant is how the host responds to COVID-19. The host has to respond appropriately. The immune activation has to be appropriate just to cause disappearance or degradation of the virus and elimination of the virus. But unfortunately, some of the hosts respond in a very exuberant, exaggerated, and dysregulated way, resulting in cytokine storm. As you can see here, a host of cytokines, including interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 2, IL-6, IL-8, interleukin 10, gamma interferon, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and so on. Each one of these, when they are present in excess, they cause organ dysfunction, including kidney. Slide. This again represents a detailed way the pathomechanism of acute kidney injury inflicted by COVID. As you all know, the COVID virus, the coronavirus enters into the cell through the ACE2 receptor. And there is evidence for angiotensin II activation. And what happens is that, interestingly, the ACE2 expression is downregulated. What is the result of that? The result is that there is reduced angiotensin 1 to 7 production, which is a kind of an antagonist, physiological antagonist for angiotensin 2. So when to 7, there is a balanced action between the two. When there is a reduction in angiotensin 1 to 7, there is uninhibited action of angiotensin 2 that causes tissue injury. And also, the cytokine storm causes hypercoagulability and microangiopathy. On the right side of the picture, you can see the impact of direct viral invasion on the renal tubular epithelial cell and the podocytes. And also, because of the direct viral invasion on the skeletal muscle, it can cause rhabdomyolysis. Fortunately, it is less frequent, but we have come across quite a good number of rhabdomyolysis-induced AKI. So ultimately, the kidney suffers due to multiple mechanisms, that is acute tubular necrosis, interstitial inflammation, podocytopathy, microangiopathy, HEMA-like picture, and finally, very interesting, a collapsing glomerulopathy. Let us see. Next slide. So this is what I said. There's yet another patient of ours, a 42-year-old lady. She presented with COVID, lung involvement, acute kidney injury. Not just that, there was significant proteinuria and microhematuria. The biopsy revealed and the characteristic collapsing glomerulopathy. As you can see here, there is the tuft collapse and the Bowman space getting filled with proliferation of the visceral epithelial cells, the classical collapsing glomerulopathy. And very interestingly, this lady tested negative for APOL1 gene nephropathic polymorphism. Probably this is the first Indian case report we are going to publish, even without the presence of the nephropathic APOL1 gene polymorphism. Patient presenting with collapse. Is it a direct causation by COVID? We don't know really. It is just causation. COVID just acts as a trigger for that to unearth this pathology, or there is a causation. Why I'm saying is that even though theoretically we believe that the COVID virus can invade the podocyte and that can inflict this injury, this form of pathology, there is no robust evidence for that. Next slide. What is the mechanism of COVID-related collapsing glomerulopathy? There is activation of interferon. Heightened interferon activity at the level of the podocyte is supposed to initiate the process of collapsing glomerulopathy. Also, another hypothesis is that there is disruption of autophagy and loss of mitochondrial homeostasis that results in epithelial cell dysfunction and cell death that leads on to this form of injury. As I've already said, even though tubular reticular inclusions have been demonstrated in the electron microscopy of the kidney biopsy specimen, we don't know whether they represent the viral particles or simply endosomal subcellular structures. Next slide. But this is a very recent publication. All the previous experience is that none of the previous investigators could demonstrate the viral RNA in the kidney biopsy specimen or even in situ hybridization techniques. They failed to demonstrate the virus. But this is a very recent publication. This shows the presence of the signal for viral RNA, which is positive, as you can see here, the minute greenish dots on the right-hand side column. So this is the only evidence to show that there is a presence of viral RNA in the kidney tissue itself and inflicting a direct cytopathic effect. Next slide. The COVID doesn't stop with causing all these modes of injury I have already explained. There is yet another mechanism. This is another unfortunate patient of ours, a renal transplant recipient done about 8 years ago, perfect graft function. Unfortunately, he developed severe COVID. And on day 4 after development of the disease, he went in for acute graft dysfunction, anuria, and evaluation. We found that there was a vascular catastrophe. There is a complete thrombosis of the transplant renal artery. Next slide. Resulting in anuric renal failure and graft dysfunction. The biopsy revealed diffuse cortical necrosis. Next slide. So, COVID inflicts acute kidney injury by multiple mechanisms, and it affects almost all the compartments of the nephron. And there are the management challenges remain the same. There is no specific measure, therapeutic measure, exclusively that can be applied for COVID. There are many queries remain unanswered. Whether any of the drugs used in COVID can have a beneficial impact on AKI in terms of prevention or mitigation of the severity of injury. To this day, none of the agents that have been employed in the standard of care of COVID have been proved to be really rhinoprotective. That is number one. And number two, the role of CRRT in COVID-related AKI, even though experience is coming from some centers, still we need more robust evidence, and particularly from India. And third one is that many patients recover from AKI due to COVID, but what happens to them in the long term? Because the recovery of most of these patients seems to be incomplete. So there is a felt need that these patients who survive from AKI associated with COVID, they definitely require a diligent long-term follow-up. Thank you so much.